Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Huddle in Place with the Nine-Sided Circle. We are on episode 43 today, May 9th, 2020. I've been hearing a lot about snow back home in Boston and New York, so I guess I'm still thinking, oh, yes, winter. But no, it is May. And there is a polar vortex over much of the Northeast, so.
Yeah, because what's a pandemic without a polar vortex?
Right. Topsy-turvy times. Okay, so I am one of your hosts, Noor Kyle in Los Angeles.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Mushtaq Ali, somewhere in the Bay Area.
And or back in the Badlands.
And back in the Badlands, yes.
Yep. So any updates today?
Yeah, the Oglala and Cheyenne River Sioux tribes have been basically putting up checkpoints on all of the roads in and out of their reservations.
Yeah,
And
highways and such.
yeah, and checking people, having them fill out a questionnaire, all of that kind of stuff, and letting them through if it's appropriate and turning them back if it's not. And this upset the governor of South Dakota, who ordered them to put it down, and they just told her to stuff it. So I'm fairly happy about this because native populations seem to be incredibly vulnerable. And if they don't take care of themselves, nobody else will.
Right.
So
yeah,
good for them.
And it's important that they have that agency to protect themselves.
And they do. The states have no control over reservations. Reservations are federal. They are not state. So the governor really doesn't have shit to say.
It's just, one of those things where you just gotta speak back when people try to knock you down.
Yeah, and it's fun to read the back and forth because it's really obvious that the Sioux are being the adults in the room.
It really is. I read those as well, and I had that impression as well. Yeah. So one thing we wanted to touch on today is that California, as of yesterday, we are not out of safer at home per se. I believe that's going on till the end of May. Right?
I believe so, yeah.
To May 31st or 30th, whichever it is. And with that in mind, I think people across the country, as states start to quote unquote reopen, there's this, instinctual sense that we're through the worst of the pandemic. And we know from the numbers that's not true.
Yeah.
Like we
and
see
from other
New York.
pandemics.
What's that?
I said, and from other pandemics.
Yes. So there is, in all likelihood, going to be one or more fresh, what's that term they use? Waves.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, New York is dwindling down. That doesn't mean the rest of the country is dwindling down. In fact, the opposite is happening. Things are ramping up. And we are not paying attention to the protocols. We as a nation, I think Europe is having the same problems where things are getting ramped up even though we're not meeting the phase goals of having 14 consecutive diminished days of notable decreased numbers of new cases and deaths and all that stuff. That is not what's happening right now.
Nope.
Those things are increasing.
Yeah, as a matter of, for instance, Michigan, which is the third hardest hit state in the country after New York and New Jersey, is having an upswelling of the virus in rural counties, mostly Republican-controlled rural counties, which I find interesting because most of them are the people who were down protesting the shelter-in-place order 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden.
Yep, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So what I had in mind to discuss today is just to reiterate how important it is for us to keep, utilizing social/physical distancing measures, to continue to wear personal protective equipment like cloth masks if we have them, medical masks if we have them. Those things still matter. Those things still need to be used, because the more that we're out and about as this virus continues to spread, we're not any more safe than we were a month ago, to be perfectly honest. And we're going to get some level of fatigue. We're going to get this quarantine fatigue going on if we haven't already. That's why people are pushing to lift these stay-at-home orders and to reopen businesses and stuff. And of course, our, leadership situation on the federal level is such that we are being led to slaughter in some ways, if we want to be really explicit about it. And I think it's important for us to be responsible about where we go out to in the world. So right now, a few hot spots that we know about for super spreading are things like meat packing plants, because everyone works close together. The air is not circulating in that environment. And it's cold, so the virus can sustain itself there very easily. Other places where spreading is a problem: prisons, nursing homes.
Protests.
What's that?
Protests.
Yes, group gatherings where people are not practicing physical distancing. Let me see what else is here. Weddings, funerals, birthday parties, business networking events. Yeah, as we go back to work, this is something we have to keep in mind. Restaurants are a place where we need to be really careful. We've had incidences where choirs had significant spread within their communities because they were all close together in an enclosed space, and singing releases more droplets than speaking, that's for sure. Indoor sports. So, we're thinking of things like grocery stores being places where we feel the most vulnerable. But because people are there relatively briefly, they're constantly moving, there's usually a sense of crowd control going on. They often have those dots on the ground so people know how far apart to stand when they're waiting in line and such. You're less at risk there than you are at your workplace or at a restaurant. So things like this is what we need to keep in mind. And we're going to be left to make those choices going forward if people in authority are going to kind of open things up and allow us to, make our own guidelines for ourselves.
Well, what we have to face is that the people in authority really don't care about us.
Yeah.
And
that's
if
always
they don't care about us,
heartbreaking.
we have to care about us.
Yes. And
They
not
care
just
about
us ourselves, but each other.
Yeah, us in general.
Yes.
All they care about is the next election and what they can get out of all of this.
Sorry to say, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
This is something that I didn't think I would see to this extent here in the US. When I lived in Tanzania, every election was incredibly stressful because all of the politicians would get their people out to agitate and preferably start violence to intimidate the people on every other side so that they could get elected.
So like scare tactics,
Scare
bullying,
tactics,
basically.
small riots, yeah, threatening people who would vote against them at the polls and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, now we see the same thing here. America as a third world country. And we're seeing that with this for sure. The government doesn't care if you and I die from the virus. All they care about is that Wall Street does well and their numbers look good. And they can say, the economy is doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the economy has not done great for regular people in quite some time.
Exactly. And that's been masked by the powers that be, quite frankly.
Yep.
So that's what we have for today. I'm sure we will touch on this more in the
Yeah.
future. But
And shake our
yeah.
fists even more.
Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah. So
that's what we have
be
for you
safe.
today. Yeah. Please be safe. Please, think ahead, think of your well-being and those around you. Try to stay in ventilated places where you can practice physical distancing for your sake and for the sake of others.
And get good masks.
Yes, absolutely. And wear them consistently. Try not to, have them down over your mouth and not over your nose and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Instead of pulling them over your nose to keep your glasses from fogging up, get some anti-fog spray for your glasses. That works.
Because if you're going to be stuck wearing this stuff, you want it to work, right? So,
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Cool. So that's what we got for you today. And of course, we will be back tomorrow. So take good care of yourselves.
Actually, we won't be back tomorrow.
When this posts, it'll be
When this posts, it'll be tomorrow. Yeah, so we will be back. Sunday is our long day. So we're going to do an hour or so talk, but we'll be back.
Yeah. So see you soon. Take care.
Adios.